without delay. Not tomorrow, but today. Caribbean people, this is another chance to advance towards total independence. Those who strip the right from we should never ever be in charge of our apex code. We have in the Caribbean men and women of distinction. So for the CCJ you must vote. Come let me rally around the CCJ without delay. Not tomorrow, but today. I know Mary Show would have been proud to say, oh yeah.
And a good morning to Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. Once again, it is time for Hard Talk. My name is Sheldon Scott.
And I'm Devon Romain.
And this is Hard Talk. We're live on 97.5 City Sound FM.
89.5 CRFM.
92.9 Sister Isle out there in Carriacou. They're celebrating their anniversary, you know. Yeah, they had their anniversary and they have a dance or something coming up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we'll tell people about it a little later.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
And 94.9 We Vibes Radio in Brooklyn, New York.
Yes, indeed. All right, we're also live on Facebook. Yeah, kind of doing all kind of thing at the same time. Yeah, so we're live on Facebook. Yeah, on Hard Talk Grenada Live. And we're also live on YouTube on Hard Talk Grenada. And we're live on our website, www.hardtalkgrenada.com. Yeah, so we kind of all over the place. And no matter if you're in Grenada, outside of Grenada, around Grenada, wherever you are, you can tune in to Hard Talk. Nice? Beautiful. All right. You ready to go now? Nice. Those of you on the live, remember to like and share the live. Like and share the live, right? You have to like it and you have to share it. Like and share the live. All right? Nice. Beautiful. But just in case people forget, we had to remind them, you know.
Here on the CCJ, without delay, not tomorrow, but today. Caribbean people, this is another chance to advance towards total independence. Those who strip the right from we should never ever be in charge of our apex code. We have in the Caribbean men and women of distinction. So for the CCJ you must vote. Come let me rally around the CCJ without delay. Not tomorrow, but today. I know Mary Show would have been proud to say, oh yeah, the CCJ on the way.
Yes, this morning we must have a visitor in studio with us from the CCJ Advisory Committee. So one of the members of the committee, we're hoping for two, but we'll settle for one, should be in with us from roughly around 12. I know he's pushing a heavy schedule this morning, but he promised that he would attempt to be here for 11 a.m. So we're looking forward to having him in studio with us. That's Sir Lawrence Joseph, our Attorney General and also Chairman of the CCJ Advisory Committee. Should be in studio with us for 12 a.m. Yeah. 11 a.m. Yeah.
In the hands of the colonizer. So come let me rally around the CCJ.
Yesterday, the 18th of the 10th month in 2018. So it's 18-10-18. Yeah, nice. No, I did not give you the numbers to go and play in Picture. No. You can't play them numbers in Picture anyway.
Why should those who don't understand our customs and traditions be in charge of our apex code?
Next thing you want to go and say, me make you lose for me.
Women of distinction, so for the CCJ we must vote. Come let me rally around the CCJ without delay. Not tomorrow, but today.
In the interim, we don't mind taking your questions and so in relation to different aspects of the Caribbean Court of Justice.
Sure.
Yeah, I might be able to answer some of them. And we can also start banking up questions so when Sir Lawrence gets the studio. Remember, those of you out there in St. David, the Honorable Oliver Joseph, he'll be having that meeting at the St. Dominic's RC School today from 6 p.m. Yeah, so that'll be taking place a little later on this evening from 6 p.m. So the Honorable Oliver Joseph and I believe Senator Kim George would be there as well. So that's taking place. And they're going to be speaking about issues like the pension, They're going to be speaking about the finances of the country. They're going to be speaking about issues like national health service, health care, and all of those things, national health insurance. Yeah, and healthcare in general. So you're going to be having not just go and sit down and think it's a CCJ discussion, so you're going to listen to CCJ. No, you will hear about the Caribbean Court of Justice. There will be a presentation on it. You can ask questions in relation to it. But additional to that, you will be hearing about other aspects of governance. And then there may be issues that are specific to the area around St. Dominic RC School, as they call it, Laura, Lafem, Beaton, The Rock, Lychet, going down into Mango Hole, all those areas around there. I know the place, so I must know the place. Yeah, Pedmata. So you may be having questions as to different things that need to be done in those areas, whether it's a road or a bridge that you think needs to be done, or whether it's something with the school itself that you're attending the session at that needs to be done. So the opportunity is there. You can go on out, meet the parliamentary representative. You can speak to him and interact with him and make your suggestions and so on. And you will also be getting information from the team on various topical issues. And we're preparing for budget. We're heading into budget. Next thing you say something, then they could just have time slip it into the budget one time. Yeah, for next year. Yeah, next thing something might have been left out and you could have time slip it in there. All right. Yes, indeed. Yeah, so come like rally around the CCG. I wonder.
I'm feeling a bit cold, But I'm in Grenada. It's just rain.
Now, I only have on this because I had to run through the rain to get into the studio.
Here. But we got beautiful weather in Grenada. Yeah. Not like in New York and Toronto and things. It's freezing.
Yeah.
Good morning to all of you out there. Hope you're having a wonderful morning.
I just had to run into and I ain't get no hair. Yeah, I had to run in front. You find you seeing quills in front. Just leave my hair alone.
Hannah, good morning. Good morning, Hannah. Hey, good morning to all the folks in Carriacou and Peter Martinique, especially the staff of Paddy's. Yeah. And all the other businesses in Carriacou listening to us. Good morning to all of you.
Yes.
Hope you're having a wonderful day.
Yes, Hannah, the initial intention was to dive right in today. But I'll tell you exactly what occurred. The OECS Court of Appeal is sitting in Grenada right now. As we speak, the court is in progress here in Grenada. The High Court sitting have resumed. The OECS Court of Appeal is operating in Grenada. It's an itinerant court, so it moves throughout the OECS countries. And they hear the appeals in relation to matters that have been through the high courts and persons wish to appeal a little further. The OECS Appeals Court is here in Grenada right now, hearing appeals in relation to various matters, some of them criminal matters, civil matters, etc. Now, due to that, persons who would usually speak on behalf of the CCG Advisory Committee and be able to come in studio with us, who we'd have loved to see in from 10 a.m., have been otherwise engaged. So Dr. Francis Alexis, Ruggles Ferguson, and Miss Michelle Steele, and so on. They're engaged as you have the appeals court going on right now. So that's the reason that they're not in. Yeah? And just like to announce as well for the Honorable Gregory Boyne that he'll not be in office today, constituency office. Yeah, next week, he's going to fix you all up. But he will not be in office today. All right? Okay, propose? Nice, right. So don't go running up into the library to go and see Honorable Gregory Boyne. He's not there today. All right, good.
Sheldon, where is that meeting in St. Andrews Northeast?
St. Andrew Northeast. I think I'm seeing somebody putting something there. Could you do an announcement for me? Yeah, somebody's saying do an announcement, but they didn't put what to announce.
Yes, they didn't put
it. Yeah, so all you have to put what to announce. I believe there's a meeting of the Imani trainees and other youth. I'm not sure if it's Imani trainees and other youth or Imani trainees. I'm not clear. So, St. Andrew Northeast, you need to send I didn't want to go and say something and next thing's the wrong thing.
Yeah, the wrong
so I'll just send the announcement to us and we're going to put it out. Yeah, send it and we go see it.
Definitely.
Nice. Yeah, so here. 440-7377, just in case you want to call, 440-7377.
And 347-329-3101. Give us a call. It's a nice, cool morning in Grenada. Yeah, everybody's just going about their business. It's today it's Credit Union Day. Yeah, it's been celebrated in
Hmm.
Grenada in St. Mark's, in the parish of St. Mark's today.
Saint
Hope,
Mark.
yeah, St. Mark.
Hmm.
All right. Hope that the weather, is would be all right, and all credit
Right.
union officials.
You see, there's Grenada. When we have an activity and rain falls, we say showers of blessing.
Yeah.
In the United States, when rain falls, they say, oh, crap. But down there, we say showers of blessing. Yeah? So we have to worry about that. Most of you might guys a little flood every now and again. One or two other places and thing might have a little flood. That's the most we might get. All right? 4407377. I'm going to drop this one on you. Yeah?
Yeah, man. I say one Caribbean people support yes for our own Caribbean court of justice. How you mean? Warm to you like that. Grenada. Don't stand up, babe. We have to vote for CCJ. Don't stand up, babe. CCJ going all the way. Just look at this. Our own Caribbean court of justice. Yes, that good for we. Now we have to spend less money. I take a vote. You take a vote. We take a vote. Vote for Caribbean justice. He take a vote. She take a vote. You take a vote. Vote for Caribbean justice.
Okay, I'm seeing one person by the name of Maxi Raymond. They've posted a question there, and that question is word for word the very same question I've seen on Claudette Joseph's page. So either you copied from there or you, well, I don't know. But anyway, so Lawrence addressed that question on GBN day before, and it would be addressed now. Now, you have to understand something. The Constitution of Grenada is the supreme law of the land. And if the Constitution of Grenada says one thing, the Constitution says $1,500. Now, there's this contention being made by Claudette Joseph that the CCJ bill is going to change the amount of money to $25,000. So, in other words, if you have a case and the case isn't worth up to $25,000, that you would not be able to take it to the CCJ. And therefore, that would debar a lot of poorer people who may have matters that don't really amount to that amount. It might be 20,000, might be 19,000, might be 15,000. That's going to bar them from taking it to the CCJ, and that is not the case. Yeah, the amount varies in different countries. In Guyana, it's 1 million Guyanese dollars, which basically works out to around 13,500 EC dollars. There's a different figure in Belize. There's a different figure in Barbados. There's a different figure in Dominica. So there are different figures throughout the Caribbean. But within the Constitution of Grenada, it gives the government, the parliament, I believe, it's either the parliament or the minister, it gives the power to one of them to change the fee to whatever. Yeah, it gives them the power to change the fee to whatever. So Lawrence, when he comes in, I'll let him explain it a little better than I will let Sir Lawrence explain it a little better when he comes in, because he will be able to point to the specific parts of the Constitution that he referred to. So in other words, it is not a case, I can say this part for sure, it is not a case that a person who has a case for less than $25,000, worth $25,000, as the outcome of it could be $25,000 and more. It is not a case that once the CCJ has made the final court of appeal for Grenada, it is not the case that a person who has a case with less than that would not be able to go to the CCJ. That is not true. That is false. Yeah, that is not true. So we're going to clarify that a little more, because I realize some people are saying vote no. And you see, my thing is simply this, Devon. I realize that the NDC, who previously have been saying vote yes, the NDC who has been previously saying vote yes, who have been making statements telling people that they support the CCJ, for instance.
The National Democratic Congress is not and has never been opposed to the CCJ. In fact, previous administrations led by the NDC have done lots of work to push forward the work of the CCJ, and that can be attested to by Brother Peter David. The CCJ
is another step towards the achievement of Caribbean unity. And in the NDC, we know that eventually, one way or the other, the CCJ in its appellate jurisdiction will become a reality, not only in Grenada, but throughout the Caribbean.
So yeah, so the NDC, that's the NDC acting political leader, and he's saying that the NDC does support the CCJ. Let's see who else.
What is our and what is my position on the CCJ? First and foremost, the NDC and I not opposed to the CCJ. But I want to say to you that the CCJ would not come into reality unless we change our attitude in the way we do business.
So that is Mr. General Secretary of the NDC. That is Mr. Glenn Noel. Yeah. So that's another member of the NDC.
Folks, you know my stance, and you know I'm a principled person. I have stated very, very clearly that the CCJ is the way to go, and it is inevitable. Look, now people could have reservation, and you have a right to. That's your business. But at the end of it all, we would have to handle our own affairs here in the Caribbean. We'd have to have our own system. And I am simply saying the time is now. The time is here for us to do so. And look, we can have disagreements. We can, look, I've stated on the program my position, and there are people who say straight up, Kem, I don't agree with your position, and they challenge and they say certain things. And I respect that. We should have a healthy debate in going forward. Tomorrow we will have Joseph Roberts or some of his acquaintances or some of his colleagues to come in and speak about the CCJ, and you have the opportunity to ask a number of questions the same way. But I am telling you folks, you have listened to me many a years. I am confident that the CCJ is the way to go. It may not be perfect, and nothing in life is perfect. Nothing in life except God himself. But I am simply saying, this is something that you need to look at. Give it a try. Look at it. Listen to the both arguments. I am convinced that the CCJ is better for this region than the Privy Council at this point in time. And I am saying it will be better for many, many years to come. So I am simply asking of you to vote yes for the CCJ.
Right, so we all know who that is. Yeah. And let's see if we have anybody else on that side of the fence saying that the CCJ is a good thing. Vote for the CCJ. I wonder if we have anybody else.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not about me. This is about all of you and all of us. But I want to say one thing before we start. In 1979, a number of our young people did something that reverberated around the world. Something that it may not have lasted forever, but has, in a world of no cell phone and no internet and no fax machine or nothing like that, has established institutions that today we are very proud of. MNIB, National Insurance Board, and the airport. You know, we should have been the first one signing on to the CCJ. We should have been. I don't know what happened, but given that, given what we did then, we should have been the first. So keep that in the back of your minds with those of you who have all the excuses in the world as to why we shouldn't.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the public relation officer at the NDC.
Yeah, and he's confident of where we're supposed to go.
Yeah, it's strange to me too, after saying that the CCJ is such a good thing and we need to go to the CCJ and it's important for us to go to the CCJ. So they understand, one, that the CCJ is a competent court. Yeah, a competent court. They understand that. To a man, they understand that. Yeah, that the CCJ is a competent court. They also understand the need for Grenada to go to the CCJ. They understand that the court is competent. They understand there is a need for Grenada to move to the CCJ. Right? And they're saying that the time is now for Grenada to move to the CCJ. So one moment you're hearing that, next minute you're hearing another story.
So I'm
You're hearing
asking,
the NDC political leader giving another story right now.
so what went wrong?
But you see, and the thing is that
Twisted minds.
these people keep coming up. There are people that keep coming up with these sort of weird issues right now and trying to spin the entire process political. So they're coming up with some quote-unquote red herrings and non-issues. Yeah? Red herrings and non-issues. And red herring is something that's thrown in there to cause some sort of confusion in your thinking. So it's not necessarily a truthful something. It's not even usually a sensible something. But it's an idea that's thrown in there to confuse your thinking, to make you doubt whether or not what you're doing is the right thing. And that's what these individuals have been doing. I sat in St. Patrick there last night, and I listened to people like Livingston Nelson and Danley Alexis and so on come with some of the most, I really believe that these guys were intelligent. But some are the most unintellectual. I don't want to say dunce. Arguments that I've heard in relation to the CCJ thus far. I mean, if that is a reason, if what they're saying are reasons to vote no, no self are voting yes. Because there's nothing behind what they've been saying. Nothing behind anything that they've been saying. What is the reason to go to the CCJ now? What do you mean, what is the reason to go to the CCJ now? You prefer to go to the CCJ when the British closed the Privy Council, and then you have no choice but to go through a referendum process. And here's what can happen, eh? Here's what can happen. And let me say this to all who are playing at NDC and are voting no. If you do go and vote no, and the bill fails, and the British decide that they're closing the Privy Council, let me tell you the danger you're putting yourself in. If the British, not if, but when the British close the Privy Council, and Grenada has to go back through this process, whatever goes into the bill, you can't vote no.
You have a choice.
Because you don't have a choice. You have no Privy Council to say that you're voting no and you're staying in Privy Council. So whatever goes into the bill at that point in time has to be voted yes on.
Otherwise, we'll be stuck without a final court.
There's no opportunity for us to be stuck without a final court. We can't be stuck without a final court. So it's not like you're going to be having a yes and no on a ballot, you know. You're just going to be having a ballot for show purposes. Right now, you have a ballot where you could make a decision.
Yeah, choices.
You vote no now and end up with a ballot where you don't really have a choice. The government at the point in time could decide they're putting whatever in that bill because there's no Privy Council, so you can't vote no. So the government decides that they're putting whatever in that bill at that point in time. And you know what? You will be stuck with it. Yeah, they could decide all the things that you're complaining about, you're saying you don't want to see and you don't want that. Government could put back everything just as it is right now and even include things that you might not like even more. And you can't vote no.
You know, it's just, according to one of online things, just pathetic. When you hear, quote unquote, educated and persons that, I mean, young people within the community look up to, right, for guidance. When you hear them talking this pile of garbage, right, as to why we should not go to the CCJ. I mean,
I hear one man,
I don't understand.
One activist last night come with some issue about the Queen. Let me tell you something about Her Majesty. No, not love the Queen, but saying that the Queen go do this and the Queen go do. The Queen can't do nothing. Even in the United Kingdom, the Queen is actually just a figurehead, you know.
A poster girl.
Since Oliver Cromwell and them did what they did back in 14 or 13 or long or whenever they did it, or 16 something it was. Yeah, when Oliver Cromwell and them do whatever they do back in whatever century. Since then, the power of the British monarch is mainly ceremonial. When Parliament, the House of Commons, sends documents, sends the laws and so on to Her Majesty, Her Majesty can't send it back and say she ain't signing that, you know. She has to sign whatever they send. Yet, technically, she could send back something, but she does not send back anything.
It's her government.
Yeah. And it's her government in basically name only as well too, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, they respect the Queen and they maintain the Queen, and it's Her Majesty and it's the British royal family and all that, and they provide for them
They support
and
them
all this kind of
everything.
thing.
Yeah, that's it.
But her role is mainly rubber stamp, ceremonial. Yeah, she does not have the power. For instance, it would be nearly civil war should Her Majesty decide she's going to dissolve Parliament in the UK right now.
That's
Like she just decides she don't like what happened, and she decides I'm going to dissolve Parliament. It would be nearly civil war.
yeah.
In fact, it would be civil war
Very
if she decides she was
virtually
trying to do that
impossible,
right now.
It wouldn't hold. It can't stand. You know, based on the whole. But then again, and some of us here in Grenada find all sorts of dumb, foolish reasons. I have to say that because you keep repeating things over and over after they get answers for it. And
But
it makes no sense.
But and you see, this is the thing. I can understand a person who says they're voting no because they do not have clarity on a particular part of the bill. But once clarity is provided and that person still decides that they're going to ask that question over and over, or they're going to vote no, that doesn't make any sense to me. That goes into the realm of one of the traveling circus of no. Yeah, and the traveling circus of no, they realize we make them out, so they didn't come last night.
They didn't come last
But they
time.
send representatives.
Well, yeah, of course they will.
Because Livingston Nelson not from St. Patrick.
No.
He's in St. Andrew Northeast,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the man who used to run before
Yes.
before Ingrid Rush.
Yes, he's right on the border.
That's the
but
man
he
who
is
go in and run after Terry.
after Terry. Hopefully.
Yeah, he's the man that go in and run. So, what happened, I feel I don't know what's going on now.
So he trying to get his voice in the whole mix.
Yeah, but if you're
Understand?
getting your voice in the whole mix, makes sense, man.
Yeah, be sensible about it.
Makes sense.
You know,
Yeah, this sort of nonsensical thing that you all coming with there,
poor excuses.
it just shows that you all are grasping at straws. It just shows that you all are grasping at straws.
And you
And the
see,
TUC has their issue in relation to the election petitions. They're saying that election petitions should not go simply to the High Court, because as it is right now, election petitions do not go to the Privy Council. They don't go to the Privy Council as it is right now. I myself didn't even realize that until of late. But election petitions do not go to the Privy Council, and there's a good reason that election petitions do not go to the Privy Council. They do not go there because you cannot have an election that finished yesterday in Grenada and you're waiting until next month to form the government. You cannot leave a country without a government for extended period of time. And the British Privy Council would not have set aside all their business and decide that we're going to deal with that matter of an election petition in Grenada to decide which party really won the election. They're not going to go through that. Yeah? Remember there was a situation with George Bush back in 2000. 2000. Yeah, the 2000 election in the United States, it went to the Supreme Court until one side just decided they're giving up because this thing taking so long before they could name a president. Because you had the thing at the hanging chads and so in Florida and all this kind of thing.
The hole and all kind of foolishness.
Right. So to avoid getting into that sort of situation, foreseeing that that sort of situation can come up, that is the reason that election petitions can go as high as I believe the High Court, and I think the OECS Court of Appeal, but I know for a fact the High Court. I'm not sure if it can go to the OECS Court of Appeal, but I know for the High Court. So that persons can argue their case and so on. The High Court can have a special sitting.
In a quick space of time, yeah.
The High Court could have a special sitting last night. If there's an election petition and so on, they could sit last night and deal with it so that in the shortest possible space of time. Yeah? The CCJ, only within the last few months, after Bill Donnelly in Parliament, within the last few months, the CCJ had dealt with an election issue, and they dealt with it in a speedy frame of time. So it is hindsight in relation to taking this issue out from the High Court now and sending it to the CCJ. It is not something that cannot be addressed further down the road. It is not something that cannot be addressed further down the road. I don't see anybody having anything against that. But it is something that can be dealt with further down the road. But would you leave home and going to the polling station and vote no simply because of that, and then find yourself having to go back without any option but to vote yes? could be as early as next month. Because once the Privy Council is closed, and there are serious discussions taking place in academic circles, especially in the United Kingdom, about the need for the continuance of the Privy Council. There are law lords that are having that discussion right now. There are various people having that discussion right now about whether there is still a need to maintain the Privy Council for these, some of them call us vassals, vassals of the United Kingdom.
And not many of us anyways, at this point in time. A majority have already left and, have their own court.
In the midst of Brexit, in the midst of, because right now with the Brexit even affects the various laws that the UK has in place because the European laws in many instances took precedent over some of the local laws, especially when it comes in relation to business and cross-border trade and that sort of thing.
Immigration, all these
right.
things. Yeah.
So they took precedent. So now the British have to be relooking their laws and so on. So they've got to spend literally millions of pounds to relook their laws and update some of them, throw out some of them and so on, and delink from the European Union. That's part of the Brexit discussion. And while you have that taking place, and they're having to find money to do all of that, they still have the Windrush issue, where they have said to certain categories of people right now who have not been properly documented. They pay tax all kind of thing, but you're properly documented. But anyway, who have not been properly documented,
strange.
that their time in the UK is short. They're saying that to them. And in that sort of environment, you're going to say to me that we must hold on to the Privy Council? You're holding on to something that burns in your hand.
Everything is pointing towards exit. You understand? But we trying to push and hold on to something that is almost dead to us. It has no, look, it serves its purpose, and the time for it now is to go. We need to replace it with a more favorable court, right, that suits our needs at this point in time. There's no need holding on to something that, that we can't benefit anything from.
Yes, so, all right, 440, you want to take some calls because I know, and as I said, let's take some calls. The phone ring. We have a caller online.
Good morning and welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning to you, my friend.
And Mr. Scott, good morning to you.
Morning to you.
And Mr. Scott, next time you're going to Carriacou. We're not accepting you leaving Devon behind. Now, Mr. Scott and Mr. Romain, gentlemen, I don't see how I could have been part of the revolutionary process. Be a soldier, be a militia, be a gun-toting soldier, attending political class, being part of the revolutionary process. I don't see how any Grenadian or anybody could tell me not to vote for the CCJ. It is impossible. And if anybody tells me that, the question I will have to ask them is that, listen, did you smoke in the first batch of crack cocaine that the Americans brought to Grenada during the intervention? That is the question I will have to ask them. Because there is nothing anyone could tell me, that would cause me to change my mind about voting for the CCG. Despite the fact, yes, we have issues with our lower courts here. But that doesn't stop me from voting for the CCJ because I know that could be fixed. Now, Mr. Scott, listen, last night in the Northwest constituency in St. Andrews, we had a well-attended and successful meeting in Lafayette School, where an update was given as to the progress in what was taking place in the constituency, the plans, and to a larger extent, the country as a whole. We was graced with the presence of Dr. Mitchell, Senator Humphrey, Minister Kate Lewis, and our beloved representative, Minister Delma Thomas. All relevant issues was addressed, including the CCJ. Mr. Scott, and as a country, and as a constituency, we was excited to celebrate Grenada capturing the Global Markets Award for Minister of Finance for the year for the Caribbean. You know, we was proud, and we were excited to celebrate. You know, it's a proud moment for all of us because we all played our part in contributing to this award. Mr. Scott, let me wrap up here. Mr. Scott, listen to this. The US and Japan reconcile after Japan dropped an atomic bomb that killed hundreds of thousands
America
of
dropped the
people.
bomb.
The US dropped
Germany and the Soviet Union reconciled after World War II. Over 8 million Russians died. The USA and Vietnam reconciled after hundreds of thousands, after over 150 plus thousand, U.S. soldiers lost their life. The USA and Saudi Arabia reconciled after 9/11, despite the fact that all the hijackers in 9/11 was from Saudi Arabia. They reconciled. Japan became the second largest economy in the world. Germany becomes the third. Mr. Scott, tell me why Project Grenada is not a good idea. Gentlemen, have a pleasant day.
You too, my
All right,
friend.
thank you very much, my brother. All right, folks, 4407377. But we're going to take a short break as we settle Sir Lawrence into the studio, and then we'll be back with you in a short.
It's grand celebration, endless jubilation, when independence day comes around. We keep saying we are free to chant our own destiny. There's no more mother country. But don't care how we dance up in the street, our independence is not complete. So come let me rally around the CCJ without delay. Not tomorrow, but today. Caribbean people, this is another chance to advance towards total independence. Those who strip the life from we should never ever be in charge of our apex code. We have in the Caribbean men and women of distinction. So for the CCJ, you must vote. Come let me rally around the CCJ without delay. Not tomorrow, but today. I know Marisho would have been proud to say, oh yeah, the CCJ on the way. Down with colonialism, that was the slogan, from Jobstown to Belmopan. We get legislature, executive power, beautiful flags and anthems. The judiciary, an important pillar, is still in the hands of the colonizer. So come let me rally around the CCJ without delay. Not tomorrow, but today. Caribbean people, this is another chance to advance towards total independence.
Yes, indeed, another chance to advance towards total independence. And we're saying a very special good morning to you, Sir Lawrence Joseph.
A pleasant good morning to you, and a pleasant good morning to our listeners.
Yes, indeed. And we break your mic, boy. Break this thing for the microphone there. Yeah, we're gonna fix that.
I work on something, man.
Yeah, we're gonna get it fixed. So if you find you here in Devon kind of off there because we damaged one of the mics there. Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna fix that. Yes, sir. So we have a few days going down now. It seems as a few days to me. to November 6th, the CCJ referendum getting ready. All the things being put in place. Saw some stuff coming out by the Parliamentary Electoral Office telling people about the procedure and so on. The bills being posted around the island. What has the CCJ Advisory Committee been up to?
Well, we've been having quite a number of meetings in various communities with respect to educating people on the Caribbean Court of Justice. Only last night, we had a very successful meeting at the St. Patrick's Anglican School, and despite the weather, quite a number of people came out to that meeting, and we had presentations being given to them, and they asked quite a number of questions with respect to the Caribbean Court of Justice. As your listeners would know, the referendum is due to take place on the 6th of November. That's Tuesday, the 6th of November. And of course, police officers will be voting on the 2nd of November. That's a few days before, because according to the law, they have preference to vote a few days before the actual date of the referendum in order to allow them to have freedom to ensure that there is security on the day of the referendum. And I must say that voting at the referendum is similar to voting at general elections. People must not get too apprehensive with regards to voting at the referendum. All persons who are registered to vote, as on the general elections, are also entitled to vote on the referendum. When you reach the polling station, the presiding officer will give you a ballot paper, and on the ballot paper there will be directions to the voter. And the exact wording on the ballot paper is as follows: make your mark to the right of the word yes to approve the bill, whose short title is given below, or to the right of the word no to disapprove the bill in the space provided under the question set out below. There will be a symbol there to indicate to you, especially to those who may not be able to read properly. Near to the word yes, you'll see the thumb pointing upwards, meaning yes, go ahead. But near to the box that says no, there will be a no entry sign to indicate that if you disapprove of the bill, then you can vote no. It's quite a simple process. And the question that is on the ballot paper is as follows: do you approve the bill for an act proposing to alter the Constitution of Grenada, cited as Constitution of Grenada, Caribbean Court of Justice, and renaming of Supreme Court Amendment Bill 2018? And under that are the spaces for voting yes or no. You either put a tick, as in the Nike sign, or you put an X within the box.
So a tick or an X can work?
Yes.
Okay. And folks, we're speaking with Sir Lawrence Joseph. He's the chairman of the CCJ Advisory Committee and also, the Attorney General of Grenada. Yeah, and it's several other things I could say, but the program will finish by the time I finish saying those other things. So, Lawrence, there has been an issue, and again, within the last few hours, I've seen it being repeated by Attorney at Law Claudette Joseph that the CCJ is not the poor man's court because people have to spend it has to be at least $25,000. Your case has to be worth that before you go to the CCJ. And so let's put that to rest once and for all. I listened to you on To the Point a couple mornings ago, but I think you're more adept at explaining exactly what it is and referring to the different parts of the Constitution and so as regards that. What is the situation?
Okay. In the present situation is this. That's according to the present Constitution of Grenada. If you want to take a case to the Privy Council, and I'm talking now about a civil case, because in other matters there is no threshold, no monetary threshold with respect to taking a matter to the Privy Council.
So criminal cases are not
criminal cases
in this
interpretation of the Constitution. There is no value, no monetary value expressed in the Constitution with regards to that. But if you want to take a civil case coming from the Court of Appeal in Grenada to the Privy Council. The Constitution says that it must not be less than $1,500. That's our present Constitution. It could be more, but not less than $1,500.
So look, before you go forward, so that means if it's a land case, the land cannot be worth less than $1,500.
That's
the
correct.
land that you're going to get at the end of it.
That's correct.
Right.
Any subject matter must be more than $1,500 in value.
Mm-hmm.
So the bill that has been drafted with regards to the referendum actually takes a score from the present Constitution and leaves the threshold at $1,500 to go to the CCJ, appellate jurisdiction. It hasn't changed it.
Mm-hmm.
It leaves it at $1,500. One of the things that is confusing just a few people, and I'm surprised to learn that it is confusing a lawyer, is that
she wasn't one of your students, right?
no, of course not.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
not even a relative of mine. No, she is looking at the agreement establishing the Caribbean Court of Justice, which is Article 25, and is saying that the threshold should be $25,000 because Article 25, Section 2, subsection A states that final decisions in civil proceedings where the matter in dispute on appeal to the court is of the value of not less than $25,000 Eastern Caribbean currency, or where the appeal involves directly or indirectly a claim or a question respecting property or a right of aforesaid value. But in reading this, you have to take into consideration Section 1 of the same Article 25, which says, in the exercise of its appellate jurisdiction, the court is a superior court of record with such jurisdiction and powers as are conferred on it by this agreement or by the Constitution or any other law of a contracting party.
So
by this agreement
mm-hmm.
or by the Constitution or any other law of a contracting party.
So the constitution of the individual country who is a contracting party to the Caribbean Court of Justice takes precedent in this case.
That's correct.
When it comes to the cost.
That's correct. For example, in Dominica, they have left it at $25,000 as a threshold.
Mm-hmm.
In Belize, they have left it at 18,250 Belizean dollars.
Mm-hmm.
In Barbados, it is 18,250 Barbadian dollars. In Guyana, 1 million Guyanese dollars, which, when I translate it into Eastern Caribbean currency, is $13,500. So all the 4 countries that have acceded to the Caribbean Court of Justice have different thresholds mm-hmm. for allowing a matter in civil proceedings to be taken to the CCJ.
So it's not like the contracting parties. And when we say contracting parties here, we're referring to the countries that have signed on to the CCJ agreement. It's not like all of them have to abide by the $25,000 that's placed in this section. They are allowed, according to their constitution or law that is in place in their country, to decide the amount.
That's correct. And I must go on to state that the present bill, which has been passed recently in Parliament, states that the amount could be changed by Parliament. That $1,500 that is in the Constitution could be changed by Parliament. And let me see if I get that section quickly. Yes, that's in accordance with Section 9, subsection 5 of the bill. It says, in this section, the prescribed value means the value of $1,500 or such other value as may be prescribed by Parliament. So you could be changed by Parliament at any time.
It could be dropped to $200.
It could be dropped.
Mm-hmm.
So to state that there is a contradiction, as I've heard it, between our bill, that's the one that has been recently passed, and the agreement established in the Caribbean Court of Justice is quite ludicrous, as far as I'm concerned.
So, Lawrence, but isn't this generally the case with all laws that you're making, that the constitution of your country is always the supreme law?
Of course.
So whatever the constitution says is always what you go with?
Section 106 of the Constitution establishes that the Constitution is the supreme law. And any other law comes into play must follow the dictates of the Constitution.
Or that law can be struck down? The
law can be struck down. Once it's in contradiction with the provisions of the Constitution, that law could be struck down.
Yes, indeed. Because we were hearing Ms. Joseph saying that she would not know what to do if a client came to her with a $20,000 case and she had to go to the CCJ. She wouldn't know what to do. She'd be flummoxed.
Yeah, well,
she wouldn't know what to do.
I'm totally flabbergasted by that statement. I heard the lady, and I'm totally flabbergasted because obviously, if somebody comes to you with a civil matter and they're asking you to take it to the Privy Council, it's $20,000. So that means it fits in within the context of the bill that is being proposed. So it's quite in order. You don't have to think twice to say that, well, look, it's quite okay. If it comes under $1,500, then you have a problem. But once it's above $1,500 and it's a civil matter, then there's no problem at all. So I really didn't see the rationale for making that statement.
Let me ask a second question, another issue that's being raised right now by the Trades Union Council, and they're being supported by the National Democratic Congress on this particular issue of election petitions. What is the status right now? What is proposed in the bill, and what is the TUC really asking for?
All right, I cannot give too much on
this. I know
because
there's a discussion to
discussion
happen.
is ongoing with the Trade Union Council, and I have to respond to them with respect to that. But generally, what the Trade Union Council is saying is that they would like the present bill that has been passed in Parliament, the recent bill, to be amended, especially with regards to our Section 37 of our existing Constitution. Because in accordance with Section 37 of the existing Constitution of Grenada, a matter can be taken, a matter concerning an election petition. That means if there is if there's an issue arising after general elections with regards to who should be a member of the House of Representatives or a senator, that's an election issue. And in order to resolve that issue, an election petition has to be filed. So what the TUC is saying, that the present bill that has been passed in Parliament stops the appeal at the Court of Appeal. It does not allow any petition to be appealed to the Privy Council or to the Caribbean Court of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the present case. Once there is an election petition, it cannot be taken to the Privy Council because Section 37 says no, you have to stop at the Court of Appeal. So what they are suggesting is that instead of stopping at the Court of Appeal, an appeal should be allowed to go on to the Caribbean Court of Appeal.
The Caribbean Court of Justice.
Caribbean,
as the final court of appeal.
Yes, Caribbean Court of Justice as the final court of appeal. So this is breaking away from the principle of not allowing matters to go to the Privy Council as is the present case.
Why was it done the way that it was done in the Constitution? Is there a specific reason it was left?
Yeah, the rationale behind that is that if there is an election petition, you wouldn't like the non-establishment of government. You don't like little matters concerning membership of the House of Representatives or membership of the Senate to hold up the establishment of Parliament, because the country has to be run, has to be governed. So in order to ensure that the country is governed at a a reasonably fast period, you stop at the Court of Appeal instead of allowing it to be taken to the Privy Council. And let us be clear. When a matter is taken to the High Court, you have one judge sitting on the matter. If you're not satisfied with the decision, you take it to the Court of Appeal, and there you have normally 3 judges sitting on the matter. So it's a higher grade of decision making that you get there. So the drafters of the Constitution felt it reasonable that once you take it before 3 judges, then you have a reasonable chance of getting justice with regards to that.
Mm-hmm. In a shorter space of time.
In a shorter space of time.
Okay. Another issue I would like to ask is a question that has been going through my mind for a couple of days now. What happens if on November 6th this bill is not successful in the referendum, and the UK decides that they're abolishing the Privy Council on the 7th of November? What happens to us here in Grenada and, in fact, in all the countries using the Privy Council?
Yeah, the fact is that you cannot go to the Privy Council anymore, and you just have to have your final Court of Appeal as being the Court of Appeal of the OECS. You cannot take it any further.
Would it be a situation, though, that you then have to go to the Caribbean Court of Justice, that you have to start a referendum process again?
You have to start the referendum process again, certainly. But in any event, you must need...
But you won't have a choice this time.
No, you must need an amendment to the Constitution to have accession to the Caribbean Court of Justice. And in order to amend the Constitution, there is a special procedure in Section 39 of the Constitution that tells you exactly what you have to do. What you have to do is that you have to have the bill to amend the Constitution passed, laid in the House of Representatives for 90 days before you can debate it. After it is debated and passed, it has to be passed by 2/3 majority of all members of the House of Representatives. You have 15 members in the House of Representatives, so it must be passed by at least 10 people. And then it doesn't matter who are present in the House at the time that the debate is taking place. It's 2/3 of the membership of the House, so it has to be at least 10. And then it has to be taken to the Senate, and the Senate could approve it on a simple majority of the membership of the House. And then the third stage comes in, where the referendum people in the referendum have to approve the bill by at least 2/3 majority of all persons voting in the referendum. So at this time we are in the third stage of the amendment process, and on the 6th of November and on the 2nd of November for police officers, people would be asked to approve or disapprove of the bill. For example, if 30,000 people vote in the referendum on the 6th of November and on the 2nd, at least 20,000 people must approve the bill in order for it to get passage so that the amendment to the Constitution can be arranged.
Mm-hmm. So, folks, we're speaking with Sir Lawrence Joseph, the chairman of the CCJ Advisory Committee, and we're discussing different aspects of the CCJ bill and so on. So, just to be clear, Britain decides, because there have already been discussions, I've seen some academic papers as well coming out of the UK on the need to maintain the Privy Council, that they don't see it as a need to maintain the Privy Council for much longer. They've continually, the various academics, some legal minds in some of the universities and some of the law lords have been making the statement the Caribbean has their own court. Why are we continuing to spend money on the Privy Council when those funds could be utilized otherwise in the UK? So just in case that happens, because we have Brexit, we have Windrush, all of these things taking place, there's a sort of anti the rest of the world sort of movement in the UK right now. If the day, and when the day does come that they dissolve the Privy Council, we will be forced into this process again. We won't have a choice this time.
I anticipate that very soon, and I am talking about historically soon. It could be 2 years, it could be 3 years, whatever, and that's historically soon. That Britain would give notice that the Privy Council will no longer be available as a final court of appeal for Commonwealth countries. We have to understand it in the context that the Privy Council was set up in 1833 by England for its colonies. And over the years, as the colonies like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and so on, South Africa, India, as they became independent, they formed the final courts of appeal, and they abandoned the Privy Council. So quite a number of countries over the years have abandoned the Privy Council as their final court of appeal. It's just a few, mainly in the Caribbean area. Jamaica to Trinidad and the OECS countries, they have about 8 CARICOM countries having Privy Council as a final court of appeal, and about 4 in the Pacific, Tuvalu, Vanuatu, and a couple other smaller islands.
Microstates.
Yeah, just a few thousand people. Mauritius is part of that team that still has the Privy Council. They have about a million people, I think. But as the years went by, countries gave up the Privy Council and formed their own final courts of appeal. The British taxpayers are paying for the upkeep of the Privy Council. The judges, it is estimated, occupy about 40% of their time, because the judges also sit in the Supreme Court in England. Mm-hmm. And it is claimed that they are occupied about 40% of their time with dealing with matters at the Privy Council level. And there have been complaints, diplomatic complaints from the judges, Supreme Court judges, that they are spending too much time with dealing with matters for the Privy Council. England itself does not use the Privy Council, and a lot of people don't understand that. England does not use the Privy Council as its final court of appeal. It has its own final court of appeal. So it is easy, quite easy, especially if British taxpayers raise up against it, for England to say, whichever government comes into office, that the Privy Council will no longer be available for Commonwealth countries as a final court of appeal. And frankly, I don't see them saying it today for tomorrow. They'll give you notice, but eventually the notice will come.
And it still means that you have to go back through the referendum process. This time without an option. As it is right now, you have the option whether to stay or to go. At that point in time, you have no option of whether to stay. There's only the option of where you go to, what you go to. But there'll be no option of we are going to stay with the Privy Council or so on. What are your views? We've been having many people coming out and saying, I support the CCJ, but. I support the CCJ, but.
No, these generally are people who wouldn't vote yes to the CCJ, the present CCJ bill. They're only saying that they support the CCJ, but for them to look good. And some of them just like to hear their own voices. I'm telling you, I could think about some of them now who like to hear their own voices when they speak about the CCJ. They are not concerned about having the CCJ as a final court of appeal.
Because the same arguments, every time you have a major activity, the same person's coming with the same arguments.
That's correct. And they point out, well, look, there's a flaw here, there's a this. I mean, if they think that there are flaws in the bill, they can come to the CCJ Advisory Committee or Dr. Alexis, myself, and point out certain things. But every meeting that the Advisory Committee is having, they go to it, to the Trade Center, to Gov, to wherever.
St. David's.
and they make the same comments. Some are even making comments outside of the CCJ context, criticizing the government and so on. So these are people who just like to hear their own voices, and they take the opportunity to speak when they get the opportunity to speak.
Folks, you can call in. The phone number 440, it's now 11:33, 440-7377. That's 440-7377. And Devon, get up the next one.
347-329-3101.
Yeah, those of you who looking online, you can see how me and Devon had to work it today. Yeah, I broke the base of the next one. We'll fix it after. Yes, indeed. So you can call in with your questions, or those of you that are on Facebook, you can send your questions in to us as well. What are some of the main activities coming up now for the CCJ Advisory Committee?
Well, we have Sir Dennis Byron is coming in next week.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be at St. Mark's on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. And we are looking at a Grenadian lawyer actually working at the headquarters in Trinidad, headquarters of the CCJ in Trinidad. Her name is Tanya Alexis. She will be coming in as well. She knows the ins and outs of the workings of the CCJ because the headquarters are in Port of Spain and Trinidad. And we have other plans as well, which I do not intend to disclose at this time.
I'd like to get onto something here, as you mentioned Trinidad, and a Grenadian that's working there at the CCJ headquarters in Trinidad. There's this constant argument, for me it's a non-argument, but this constant argument that, oh, the CCJ is based in Trinidad, but Trinidad isn't part of the CCJ.
Yes, that's correct. Because of the politics in Trinidad. I remember in days gone by, the Basdio Pandey government was in office, and they were quite willing to house the court and also to join up with the CCJ when they were in government. And as soon as they became in opposition, they opposed it. Just the politics in play. Well, I can say now that the present government in Trinidad under Rowley, he has expressed his desire to present a bill in Parliament now in 2019 so that Parliament would consider acceding to the Caribbean Court of Justice as the final court of appeal instead of the Privy Council. And that would be an interesting move.
We've also seen Jamaica. This has been a discussion in Jamaica now for an extended period of time, not just this year, but I know a couple of years ago, I myself was questioned in relation to the issue of the CCJ by one of the newspapers in Jamaica. The Portia Simpson Miller PNP administration had been attempting to just bring it to Parliament and just pass it through Parliament, and the then opposition JLP was saying, no, we need a referendum on this. We need to take it to the people, even though we could just pass it through Parliament. Such an issue needs to be addressed through a referendum to the people. And I've even seen videos of television and radio discussions, newspaper articles, and so on the CCJ. So there's a heavy discussion throughout the Caribbean taking place while Grenada is moving forward and to the stage now a referendum along with Antigua. Trinidad is on the move in relation to the issue. Jamaica is also on the move in relation to the issue, and we're seeing other islands following suit.
Yes, certainly. Well, Jamaica tried to accede to the appellate jurisdiction of the CCJ a couple of years ago without going to a referendum because the Constitution does not spell out that you need a referendum to accede to the Caribbean Court of Justice. So bills were taken to Parliament. 3 bills were taken to Parliament, but there's a particular association there that kicked against that. They wanted to have a referendum, and the matter was taken to court. It reached the Privy Council, as a matter of fact, and the Privy Council ruled that the conjoint efforts of those 3 bills required that people be consulted with regards to having the CCJ as a final court of appeal. But it's good to know now that they are still discussing it, and very soon Jamaica too will also accede to the Caribbean Court of Justice in its appellate jurisdiction.
Yes, indeed. As Devon just passed me a note. The bill itself, we've been having Mr. Roberts and 1 or 2 other people making noise and speaking about, oh, they haven't seen the bill and they're not getting the bill and they want to know what's in the bill and how can they vote on this because they don't know what's in the bill and so on. Can we go over a bit the content of the bill? 17 pages long. We know some of those pages are just preamble and so on. But the content of the bill itself.
Now, the bill, Parliament passed the bill, both houses of Parliament, And then subsequent to that, a writ was issued by the Governor General, and the Governor General issued that writ to the Supervisor of Elections together with a bill that purports to change, to alter the Constitution. According to the law, that's a referendum, Constitutional Referendum Act, the Supervisor of Elections is obligated to send a copy of the writ together with a copy of the bill to each returning officer in each constituency. And they in turn have to publish the writ together with copies of the bill on public buildings, according to the law. Police stations, magistrates' courts, schools, and so on. And that, to my understanding, is that has been done. In addition to that, there have been 2 publications in 2 newspapers in Grenada with copies of the writ and copies of the bill itself. They were in the New Today newspaper, and they were also in the Voice newspaper. On 2 separate weekends, they were there. The bill is also online, ccjgrenada.com.
It's online at the Facebook page, CCJ Yes Grenada.
CCJ Yes
on
Grenada.
the Facebook page.
Yes, it's online. And also the writ, a copy of the writ and the copy of the bill was gazetted on 2 separate occasions on the same weekends as they were published in the newspapers. So the copy of the bill is available to anyone who really wants to see the bill. And I would say, I have to make this point because I've heard it said too by the same as Joseph, that they in the main opposition party did not have opportunity to see the bill and to make comments. But I, as chairman of the advisory committee, I remember inviting different organizations to send representatives to become members of the CCJ Advisory Committee. And in that invitation, I sent a copy of the bill and I asked the organizations to make comments with regards to whether they see any proposals for amending the bill, and I gave them approximately 2 weeks to do that. Nobody sent in any comments or recommendations with regards to any amendments.
But so Lawrence, even worse than that, wasn't the very said Miss Joseph the representative of the NDC on the CCJ Advisory Committee, even though I think she maybe only come 1 or 2 meetings before she just stopped coming
Yes,
meetings.
Ms. Joseph was appointed as a representative of the main opposition party. I don't want to call the name of the main opposition party, and she was there. Similarly, she was a representative 2 years ago on the committee. She was on the drafting committee that drafted the 7 bills that were presented in the referendum, and at the same time, she finally criticized the same bills that she was supposed to have been
helping
to draft. So, I mean, it really baffles me with regards to how some people operate.
Yes, indeed. So the bills themselves now, what does the bill aim to do? Because some people are giving the impression that you have to be afraid of the bill, that there's some sort of thing hidden in the bill, like it's a landmine somewhere inside there that you're going to step on. So what does the bill actually does the bill actually say and attempt to do?
Okay, in a nutshell, the bill seeks to amend the Constitution of Grenada so that wherever you have Her Majesty in Council, and that means the Privy Council, in the Constitution, you put in the Caribbean Court of Justice. And there are several sections in the Constitution that refer to Her Majesty in Council. Section 16, Section 18, Section 39, and so on. So the bill itself spells out the different sections where you're advised that Her Majesty in Council is stated, you have to put in the Caribbean Court of Justice. The bill comprises, let me see how many parts. The bill comprises 7 parts, and each part has several sections. So one of the main purposes is to amend the Constitution so that the CCJ can become the final court of appeal for Grenada. The other main purpose is to change the name of the court from the Supreme Court of Grenada and the West Indies Associated States to the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. And that is not controversial at all as far as I've seen. Because at one time, Grenada was an associated state. So the court was called the Supreme Court of Grenada and the West Indies Associated States. But Grenada is no longer an associated state. It's an independent country. But Grenada didn't have the opportunity to change the name to the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court when other OECS countries had the opportunity to change the name, because during the 1979-1983 period, we were not part of the court during what is referred to as the revolutionary period.
Because the Constitution of Grenada was suspended in 1979.
That's correct. But now we have the opportunity, because in accordance with Section 105 of the present Constitution, the official name of the court is the Supreme Court of Grenada and the West Indies Associated States. But in order to do that, you have to follow Section 39 of the Constitution in the same way that you're going to change from having the Privy Council to the CCJ.
Because it's not considered a simple change.
It's not a simple, it's an entrenched provision. So you must follow the same procedure.
Right, so that's not controversial. That's just simply a change of name, right?
That's correct. But Part 2 deals with alteration of Section 16 of the Constitution, alteration of Section 18, Section 39, 71, 102. I mean, if you go to meetings and you come up with all these things, it will be so boring that people will just leave. But I mean, once you have the opportunity to have a bill before you and you have the Constitution in your hand, you can see exactly what the intent is with regards to having the CCJ as the final court of appeal instead of the Privy Council. Part 3 deals with the repealing of West Indies Associated States appeals to Privy Council order. You repeal that and you replace it with the Privy Council. Part 4 gives you general savings, transitional parts, and so on. That means if presently, before the Constitution is amended, certain matters have already been taken to the Privy Council, this tells you what you're supposed to do. You have a choice, either to leave it at the Privy Council or you can take it to the CCJ, appellate jurisdiction.
Okay, so it means that cases that are before the Privy Council now,
once they have not been decided upon, you have the chance to withdraw it and take it to the CCJ.
Okay.
And Part 5, that deals with the styling the Supreme Court, the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, and also Part 6 deals with that, styling the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court order, because the Supreme Court is set up by a specific order from the British government, so you're changing that as well. So basically, I mean, I don't see the point in going to a meeting and going through all these. I mean, if people ask, well, you can go through it.
Because if you're going through clause by clause, it basically says, okay, Privy Council is here, and we're taking out Privy Council here, and we're putting in CCJ here. Yes. Privy Council is here, we're taking out Privy Council in this section, and everywhere that Privy Council or the Queen's, what was it said
It's
again?
called Her Majesty in Council.
Her Majesty in Council.
In the Constitution. Wherever you see Her Majesty in Council, you put in the Caribbean Court of Appeal.
Of appeal. And that's what most of the clauses are geared towards. And then there's the transitional that deals with how do you transition from one court to the other.
Yes. And then you have the change of the name of the Supreme Court.
There was something in the transitional, I didn't get the point that they were making in relation to the transitional about judges and so on, and appointments of judges and so. Is there a part of the bill that deals with that?
The bill itself doesn't deal with...
That would be in the agreement itself?
That would be in the agreement.
Okay, the original agreement.
Original agreement.
Okay.
And judges are appointed by the Regional Judicial and Legal Services Commission, not by politicians as such. That's to make it more politically insulated.
But is this a model that other territories are looking at, other countries are looking at, other territories, other groupings are looking at? The model that was used to create the Caribbean Court of Justice?
That's correct. And as a matter of fact, it was new territory for the Caribbean when the Caribbean Court of Justice was established. I remember being part of committees that were trying to see exactly what to do with respect to having the court politically insulated, with regards to having a special fund for the court, the $100 million to invest it. I was part of that thing from years ago back before the court was finally established. So I know that they were toying with the idea, and they had no precedent to follow. I think the Caribbean Court of Justice, how it has been formulated, is unique in the world, in the whole world, in the Commonwealth and in the world. And other countries are looking at the model that we have set up with respect to how we have so much independence of the judiciary, and how we have so much independence with regards to having the funds to ensure that the court is operated properly.
Indeed. And folks, remember, you can call in. We have roughly about 10 minutes remaining. 440-7377, and let me shift the mic.
347-329-3101. Give us a call. All right. Dr. Joseph, isn't it, I mean, as a legal luminary, isn't it incumbent on most legal persons, especially in this case, right, to basically go out there and explain that to the population, so because of its importance? But I say that because I have found a number of our lawyers, right, not actively participating, right, in ensuring that our people is more educated about, I mean, especially this part of our constitution. I don't know if there's any particular reason for that. There are a few lawyers who's out there every day, yourself, Mr. Ferguson, Dr. Alexis, Ms. Steele, and one or two others. But I think the majority of lawyers, in my view, are not, I mean, picking up that responsibility. Right. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Devon, Sheldon.
Hello?
Hello? Oh, we lost him.
We lost him, I think.
And Minister Lewis. I must say good morning to Minister Lewis.
Hello?
Let's take this one.
Yes, hello?
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Is that Hard Doc?
Yes, you are live.
I'm live.
Yes.
I would like to ask Dr. Joseph a question.
Go right ahead.
Hi, good morning, Dr. Joseph.
Good morning.
I would like to ask Dr. Joseph a question, please.
Yes, go right there. Just lower the volume of your radio.
My question is that if somebody goes to the CCG, I will rather they...
Don't listen to your radio.
What is happening is that I would rather Dr. Joseph and them let the people know that, for example, if somebody, the Privy Council have it that when somebody kills, they get the maximum is 15 years. If somebody goes to the CCJ, could be the maximum be life sentence?
It depends on the law of the country. Different countries will have different laws with respect to punishment. So if the law in Grenada is life sentence, then the CCJ would have to deal with the issue with respect to what the law is of each particular country.
Okay, hello, you got that clear?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yes, indeed. I remember 440-7377 and 347-329-3101. Those are the numbers. So in a case like that, while the Privy Council, they would have a set something. In the case of the CCJ, they basically look at the law of each individual territory and say, well, this is how we apply.
Yes. When somebody appeals, they appeal with regards to the law in the particular country.
Mm-hmm. So manslaughter may carry a particular term here in Grenada.
Yes.
But may carry a different one in Barbados, a different one in Trinidad.
It's quite possible.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. 440-7377. You were asking a question just before the call Devon, the lawyers going out and informing persons.
Oh yes. Well, I must say that I'm very pleased with the contributions that have been made and are being made by Dr. Alexis, Mr. Ruggles Ferguson, Ms. Michelle Steele, and so on. But I know that lawyers generally are occupied with their own work, but I was hoping that some of them would have come out a little more with regards to trying to educate people with respect to the law that is in place at this moment, at least the bill that is in place at this moment.
All right, 440-7377. And there's this thing that some people keep repeating, that they're not hearing and they're not hearing and they're not hearing. And we've done several programs here. I know that the CCJ Advisory Committee has been around the island. I know that the various members of parliament at their different sessions that they've been having, where they speak about the economy and everything else, they have been using that opportunity as well to inform persons about the CCJ. There's been constant information in the newspapers, the CCJ page, CCJ on Twitter and so on. So CCJ Grenada on Twitter, CCJ Yes Grenada on Facebook. There's been constant information. And then the CCJ website itself, ccj.org, so that anyone who really wants information can find it.
Yes, I agree. There have been quite a number of programs organized by the CCJ Advisory Committee and also by the government itself with respect to having people educated on the CCJ. So, and the CCJ is nothing new. We started since 2016, although it wasn't continuous from 2016, but people have been basically informed about this CCJ since 2016. So this year, 2018, we more or less consolidated on what we discussed in 2016. And we have made it simpler. Instead of having quite a number of clauses dealing with various things in the CCJ bill, there are two main purposes of the bill. That's to accede to the CCJ as a final court of appeal and also to rename the Supreme Court. So it's much easier this time with respect to the CCJ bill.
Yes, indeed. 440-7377. We have roughly about 4 minutes. 4 minutes remaining on today's program. So give us a call. Yeah, don't say that you didn't get the opportunity to find out. You have the opportunity. There have been television programs, radio programs, forums throughout the island. We've even been to Petit Martinique. And the Petit Martinique forum was quite instructive, huh?
That's correct. Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Yeah, quite instructive in Petit Martinique especially.
Yeah. So we've been from one end of the island to the other. Down in Calais, only this week, down in Calais. So from Petit Martinique down to Calais, throughout the island, so that persons can find out information in relation to the CCJ. Yeah? And we've been hearing constantly, different bits and pieces of information from people still saying, well, I don't know, and I haven't heard, and I haven't this, and I haven't that, and so on. And it seems as though there's some people that are playing scare tactics with the entire issue as well. As though people should be scared.
That's correct. But you have to accept that in general, talking about the CCJ is a relatively dry topic. You have to admit that. There's nothing sexy about talking about the CCJ. Nothing exciting. People not getting immediate benefits, monetary or otherwise. So people may be reluctant, but if they think deeply, they'll realize that ultimately the benefit of the CCJ appellate jurisdiction could come to the ordinary man. It could come to them at any day. You may have a motor vehicle accident. You may not be satisfied with the decision of the Court of Appeal here, and you may have to take it to a higher court. In order to get justice, you must have easy access to justice. And the CCJ provides easy access to justice. Going to the Privy Council to a lot of people is a no-no.
Okay, we have a caller online. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning and good morning to Mr. Joseph. My question to Mr. Joseph is this. Mr. Joseph, how come we don't have more lawyers and more, legal luminaries, publicly expressing their support for the CCG? I'm trying to figure out, why. I mean, we have a lot of lawyers here. Why they are not more vocal in a public way in terms of educating the public and, giving the blessings to the CCG? Thank you.
Yeah, well, I could ask the same question, but what I can tell you is that the Bar Association has passed 3 resolutions that I know of supporting the CCJ. It's not that the Bar Association does not support the CCJ, but it's just that they are not coming out with respect to trying to educate people with respect to the bill itself. But I'm a member of the Bar, and I know on 3 separate occasions they passed resolutions supporting the Caribbean Court of Justice in its appellate jurisdiction as the final court of appeal for Grenada.
Yes, indeed. And we have a question here from Depot. He's asking, what if there is a dispute between one who is part of the CCJ's ascendancy like Barbados and one who is not Grenada presently? Do parties have to meet to dish out a compromise, a court of neutrality?
No,
I think there's a misunderstanding of the original and appellate jurisdictions there.
It must be made clear that the court has 2 jurisdictions, an original jurisdiction and an appellate jurisdiction. If there is an issue arising with regards to trade, for example, Trinidad and Tobago had a dispute with Guyana with regards to trade in cement. Trinidad is not part of the appellate jurisdiction of the court. Guyana is part, but the matter was taken to the original jurisdiction of the court, and I think the matter was thrashed out there. So if Grenada has a dispute in trade with regards to trade or the interpretation of the treaty itself in another country, the matter could be taken to the original jurisdiction of the court, because all CARICOM countries belong to the original jurisdiction, save and except Bahamas, which is not a member of the original jurisdiction. Matters arising from the appellate jurisdiction are matters which go through the court system, like the Magistrates Court, the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and so on. So instead of going from the Court of Appeal to the Privy Council, then you can, if you are in the appellate jurisdiction, you can now go to the Caribbean Court of Justice.
All right. I think we have who would be our final caller for today. Good morning.
Morning, Brother Scott. Morning, Dr. Lawrence.
Morning.
I must congratulate you on your efforts in educating and enlightening our people on the CCJ.
Thank you.
And, there is something about the benefits that I wish to get across. How we mediate. There is something about what I would call the mental liberation that for me will be immediate. Should my people on the 6th of November vote yes to the CCJ, will convey to me such a feeling and an expression of freedom that is priceless. Priceless, very, very, very priceless to me. In fact, a no vote will have the opposite effect. So I just wanted to highlight that persons may not appreciate the mental importance of a yes vote. It's very, very important, gentlemen. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's a very important point. And if you want me to conclude, Sheldon, I can say that voting for the CCJ helps to complete our independence. And people have to understand that. Right now, we have independence with our executive. The Prime Minister and his cabinet can make any decision that they want to make. We have independence with regards to the legislature. The Parliament can pass any law. But we do not have independence with regards to our judiciary, which is another arm of government. Because for matters to be settled finally, you have to go to another jurisdiction, another court in England for judicial matters to be settled. So we really are not independent fully with respect to that aspect of it. So in order to claim or to complete our independence, there's need for us to have judicial independence as well.
All right. Any final words on the final words?
No, well, I would like to urge Grenadians generally that on the 6th of November or on the 2nd of November, if you're a police officer, you are encouraged to go out and vote, and to vote yes to the Caribbean Court of Justice, because it provides several good reasons why you should do so. You have access to justice, and you do not know when you require a final court of justice to give you justice. It may happen at any time. You may have an accident, or you may, if you are married, you may have matrimonial issues and you have to settle matters in the court. You may have claim in respect to your job. Anything can happen, and you may need the court to make final determinations in your matters. So you are strongly urged that in order to have easy access to justice, you're supposed to support the Caribbean Court of Justice in its appellate jurisdiction. And I will say thank you to all our listeners for listening, and I hope that I have provided you with important information today.
All right, Dr. Alexis, thanks very much. Oh my God. My apologies. Dr. Joseph, we want to thank you very much for making your presence here to enlightening us and the Grenadian people as to the way forward with the CCJ. We hope that you will continue, right, as Attorney General and as a lawyer to sharing those information and the importance of it to our people. Again, we say thank you from the Hard Talk family for coming and give us such enlightening in the talks.
Thank you.
And folks, those of you in St. David, remember the meeting at the St. Dominic's RC School for 6 p.m. this evening. That's all the time we have for Hard Talk. We are out of here. Love each and every one of you. In everything you say and do it safe and secure. We want to be speaking to and with you.
And not about you.
All right, we are out.
Our Grenadian people are proudly Caribbean, and we continually strengthen the bonds of the people of the region as together we embrace our collective destiny. We are the children of Marcus Garvey and Bob Marley, of Vivian Richards and David Rudder, as Caribbean as West Indies cricket, and as Caribbean as the University of the West Indies. We are reggae, we are soca, we are one vibration. Break the chains of colonialism for one united Caribbean. The Caribbean Court of Justice, proudly ours.
Rising out of the ghetto, third world, stagnation, reaching out for tomorrow with a world vibration.
Get up! It's time to vote for Caribbean Court of Justice. Man are ready to vote. The people ready to vote. I said they're ready to vote. We voting yes for Caribbean Court of Justice. We voting yes, 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 yes for Caribbean Court of Justice. I'm telling you, I go in and vote. You go in and vote. We go in and vote. Caribbean Court of Justice. She go in and vote. He go in and vote. They go in and vote.
Health Minister proposes proper recording of quantitative data as part of plans to tackle health and climate change challenges. Details to this story and more coming up in the national reports. Welcome back. I am Wendy Edmond with the National Report for today, Wednesday, October 17th, 2018. Health Minister Honorable Nicholas Steele says the remedy to health and climate change issues within small island states is proper recording of quantitative data. Minister Steele was addressing the gathering at the opening of the 3rd Global Conference on Health and Climate Change in Grenada. He says in order for the problems associated with climate change and health to be alleviated, countries must measure the long-term effects and the associated financial cost.
We need to measure, one, what we are doing, and two, what is happening. That which cannot be measured cannot truly be fixed or truly improved. But we also need to measure to prove to the world what is happening to us. We need to measure the number of Zika cases, and not just the Zika cases, but the effects of not necessarily alone microcephaly, but possibly slow learning curves for a generation born post-Zika. We need to be able to measure, as has become evident with Puerto Rico, not just those who died during the event, but the long-lasting effects on mental health.
Minister Steele says where Grenada is concerned, the dialogue on resilience and data collection started following the passage of Hurricane Ivan in September 2004.
We start those discussions with Ivan, Hurricane Ivan. We start those discussions with respect to what has been done in healthcare physically or so as post and pre-2004, post and pre-Hurricane Ivan, what we have built, what we have rebuilt since that natural disaster. And more appropriately for today's discussions, what else we could have done had we not had that disaster and focused those resources on strengthening our health systems.
Following the two-day global conference, a draft action plan will be submitted to the World Health Organization to chart the way forward for small island developing states on health and climate change. The minister stressed the importance of being resilient.
Climatic change is here to stay. We therefore need to be having discussions like today on resilience. It's here, we cannot avoid it, some are ignoring it, but we are feeling it. It is a SIDS discussion, most evident by the fact that we have a delegation from Seychelles and Maldives here, and that we are speaking the same experiences, or about the same experiences and the same challenges. It is a discussion, thankfully, that has been recognized most definitely by PAHO and WHO and United Nations. So I look forward to a Caribbean Action Plan.
The negative impact that climate change has created for farmers and fishers cannot be ignored. That warning from Agriculture Minister Honorable Yolande Bain Hosford as she addressed the annual World Food Day celebrations in Grenville on Tuesday. Farmers and agriculture organizations across Grenada had an opportunity to showcase their produce, which included local dishes, vegetables, fruits, beauty products produced from local ingredients and plants. The minister addressed the large gathering under the theme, "Our Actions Are Our Future. A Zero Hunger World by 2030 is Possible." She says government has been working with several organizations to implement programs and projects that will assist farmers to better understand and deal with climate change.
The government of Grenada understands this. Therefore, we will expand investments in agriculture and fisheries, thereby improving our food and nutrition security status. Our actions influence our future. Let us therefore pursue the right actions which are responsible, environmentally and economically sustainable, that will guarantee the results in a zero hunger Grenada by 2030.
Minister Hosford says the government is concerned about the issue of malnutrition and obesity and is working on mechanisms to assist in alleviating these problems.
Through the Zero Hunger Challenge initiative, the government remains committed and views this as one of the mechanisms towards eradicating hunger and malnutrition. This government believes that if we are to tackle the issue of hunger and malnutrition, then we must begin to value the concept of from the farm to the plate. The Zero Hunger Challenge initiative was able to give birth to the concept through the Sustainable Pilot Project, Agriculture Project in 4 primary schools. This project gave the 4-H units in the respective schools a significant boost through the procurement of agricultural inputs and technical support offered by the 4-H division.
The 2018 World Food Day Celebration Committee awarded several farmers and organizations for their contribution towards agriculture. Under the National Zero Hunger Challenge project, 4 pilot schools were awarded for their support and implementation of the program. The St. Patrick RC School, the St. Michael's RC School, Bernier Government School, with the St. Patrick's Anglican School being the most outstanding. Outstanding young farmers from the Western, Eastern, Northern and Southern Agriculture District was awarded for their outstanding contribution in agriculture. Awards were also presented to persons in the area of best agriculture practices, the utilization of 100% organic products, and contributions to the National Zero Hunger Challenge Initiative program. The 2018 World Food Day celebration concluded with cultural entertainment. This is the National Report. More news when we return.
Big business don't participate.
Welcome back with more news. Approximately 25 young persons will benefit from skills-based training through a new project aimed at empowering youth. A workshop was held at the National Stadium on Tuesday involving key stakeholders of the new project. Public Relations Officer within the Ministry of Social Development, Housing and Community Empowerment, Delroy Lozan, has the details.
The workshop was jointly hosted by the Ministry of Social Development, Housing and Community Empowerment, and the Ministry of Youth Development, Sports, Culture and the Arts. It was used to present the results of the rapid assessment study of factors affecting male participation in training activities and programs. The study was done through the Actively Committed and Empowered, or ACE, Youth Rehabilitation Pilot Project held in the community of Mount Horn, St. Andrew in August. ACE is a component of the Awakening Special Potential by Investing in Restoration and Empowerment, or ASPIRE Youth Project, which is funded by government and the Caribbean Development Bank. ASPIRE Project Coordinator Lisa Belfont-Daniel speaks to the importance of the project.
Project ACE is one of the key projects. It's with the Ministry of Youth Development. It's being implemented at Mount Horn in St. Andrew, and it's a pilot project. It's a community-based project. We are targeting 25 young people between the ages of 16 and 25 to help them, whatever area, whether they need literacy and numeracy remedial type, and then we have technical skills and vocational skills, and of course the soft skills component to get them from the block to work.
The study was facilitated by 2 consultants, Diane Roberts and Claude Douglas. Douglas says apart from the technical skills being received by the youth, life skills is of critical importance.
We lack in that quite a lot in our country these days. People may have, yes, the right business, but if you don't have the right social skills to go with it, the business might be affected by that. So you got to teach them how to relate to people, interpersonal skills and all of those things.
Project REACH is another component of the ASPIRE project and is being implemented at Her Majesty's prisons. The point person is Mr. Christopher Stroud.
It's critical because what Project REACH does is to provide the men with all-round skill, not only in terms of the technical skill, which is extremely critical because it will be provided men who did not have skills before with new skills, so that when they leave, there's a possibility of them using that skill to become self-employed.
For the National Report, I'm Delroy Lozan.
And that's a wrap for the National Report for today, Wednesday, 17th October 2018. On behalf of all of us in the newsroom, I am Wendy Edmond, thanking you for viewing.